So with the Naiji, an element of the unusualness of their ji being a ji mojo, but necessitates special consideration is the monologuing. And what this is ji basically wants to express the values of the individual who has the ji. In the case of the Naiji, having nai before it makes it very long percolating. So it tends to actually have two qualities to it. One is very, very important and very, very large. So this makes some sort of somewhat uneasy relationship with Naiji and their ji that often causes Naiji to not even think they are a ji mojo. Except they have these fits, like fits of ji. And what this is that the nai, when it thinks on something, it's usually going to be something big and important, so that when it's time to talk, there's a want for everyone to listen. That's the first part. So everyone should listen to me now, because what I'm saying is not normal chit-chat. Now, this can be abused, and egomania is a problem for Naiji. However, the basic way it feels as far as operating as a character is correct, which is, if it's something that came from the Nai, really from the Nai, which is all that Naiji really want to do. They can do other things. They can play characters. They can act, coy and be a little, quippish. That they can do that. But they really want to talk about what's on their Nai's mind. That's really what they want. Everything is to get that to happen. So that when it does happen, I'm going to talk about cars now. And it's sort of like, I'm not a normal car. It's sort of like, whatever you're doing, I'm not a normal car guy. I'm not a normal anything. And Naiji wants that, like, someone who's not normal is about to lay down some knowledge on you. Are you ready? And they do. It's one of the reasons why they tend to have a lot of abilities, such as humor, oration, anger, sometimes making the environment scared of them. They want to demand the absolute attention of the audience. The next part is, it also tends to be quite large. So they want it to go for a long time. So they want absolute attention for a long period of time. Pretty much what you think of in a classic artistic sense, or visionary, theoretical sense, where you want someone to actually sit down, and really at the end of the day, it all comes in the simulator, so it's really a teaching story. Even a scientific theory, if it's true, is really a story. It's teaching humans what life here really is. Right? I mean, Carl Sagan, when he does with the cosmos, he's teaching the story of Earth, the story of you and me. Okay, so when you're talking about the story of us, the cosmos, you and me, it's you kind of want chit-chat to stop because you're talking about the cosmos, and when you talk about the cosmos, you kind of need like 11 plus DVDs. It takes a while to talk about something that big, and if you did it any smaller, it would be an injustice. And that's the way Naiji naturally thinks. So monologuing, going along with the shape-shifting ability, has so many ways it comes out that a lot of Naiji are not aware they're monologuers. For example, many Naiji are Naiji are designed to have phenomenal powers of ji, like crazy, almost inhuman charisma, but many of them are like mutes. So that's because they don't understand what's going on, and ji has so many ways it can manifest. See the section on unusual nature of the ji. But here he's talking about the monologuing it's not uncommon to put that in the form of visual art, characters in a book, singing, songwriting, directing movies, political and philosophical thought that's going to be put into like upper level books in colleges and whatnot. That's all monologuing. So you don't have to speak a word. In fact, a lot of Naiji prefer not to. They prefer to actually have it to be like a completely one-way conversation. So much so that they're not even there. They're not physically there. The recording of them is there, the book of them is there, whatever, the big ass building of them is there, and you basically like, that's what I have to say. And then you either like it or you don't, but they're kind of like going to make it so big you can't ignore it. So also the depth. Now Naiji can be egomaniacal on this, and they have to watch out for that, similar like Jai delusion, that they're not just doing it because they feel like doing it, they have to connect it to something else. But even when the Naiji cares a great deal about the audience, and the good Naiji do. Naiji are built to that. They're built to actually care about the audience and then spend a great deal of time in their simulator crafting the ideal character to deliver the message, whatever that may be, the message of truth. And so truth, particularly truth people haven't seen before, kind of needs a show, and you really have to like spell it out for them in like a real cool story way so that they can get it, because they apparently have missed it up till now. So you can't just like drop, equals MC squared on them, or humans evolved from other primates. You got to give them a big building, and you got to get, like, for example, like a museum. A museum is a kind of monologuing. Monologuing has all kinds of ways. For example, photography, visual art, MMA. That sounds weird, but Naiji, for example, do extremely well in MMA, and it actually is a form of monologuing. When they're in there, they're doing Ji. A lot of Ji. Ji is extremely dominant. If you want to see the dominance of it, watch when they're doing MMA, because they have the entire audience paying attention to them, and if they're right with their Nai, which they often are, then this is going to be a one-way conversation. The other person shall attempt to talk, but they shall not. In fact, masterful Naiji are very good at actually introducing their monologues into debating. These monologues can become like epic bardic poems that actually are like hours and hours, weeks, like it would actually take them forever to recite their knowledge. And Naiji like to be able to do that, if not recite it, like to just sound off. Because basically, in a nutshell, if I had to sum it up, Naiji want to be able to zip drive information into others. So to craft artifacts and spell books or speeches or ways of conducting themselves that pretty much sears truth in the other person's mind. So that doesn't lend itself to normal interaction. And Ji, when most people think about Ji, for some reason, and Naiji will tell you this isn't true, automatically associate normal interaction with Ji. That's not true. Those two don't have to go together at all. So for the Naiji, it's more comfortable to really do monologues and then listen to another person's monologue and respond to that monologue with your monologue. Actually, artists and critics, a lot of whom are both Naiji, are actually talking to one another. They do some art, then the critics say shit about it, then they put out their second album. And they're basically having a conversation. These people never met personally sometimes, but they're actually having, particularly for the Naiji involved in this, the most important conversations of their life. Those are the most important conversations, is actually putting out their works of art and then getting sort of like critique or admiration back in like a formalized way. So that's the first part. Second is monologuing together. This is something that actually Naiji can really have fun together. See the section on Wolfpacks. Monologuing with people of like mind is just, wow. That's the bee's knees. I mean, if you want to know what Naiji are going to be doing a lot in their temples with each other, that's what they're going to be doing. They're going to be ranting and raving on the same message together. So imagine like a bunch of natural law uber priests all sounding off at the same time, just going, "Oh my goodness this," and "Oh my goodness this," and I was about to say, "Oh my goodness that," but Bob, my friend, he already said it, so I'm going to say something else on top of it. So basically, we can make an uber monologue because it's almost like a relay team. Yes, monologue relays. Those are fucking awesome. And then. The third one is, which actually gets a lot of people to think of Naiji as adaptive, including Naiji themselves, and that they're not talkative, is very much like the classic writer researching a book or an actor researching a character. When they're in their research mode, that is Ji. They may say nothing, or they may actually go and talk to someone about one aspect of the performance that they're assembling. And this assembly of a Ji performance may take months, may take years, may take days, whatever, but talking about it, for example, is part of the Ji. And usually that's something done with Nijez only because it has a very experimental quality. A good Naiji will actually talk about almost like role-playing games, I'm thinking about making a troll healer. What do you think? And that's actually part of the Ji process. It's trying to, like, particularly with the Naiji, where the perception comes first, it's sort of like conceptualizing possible characters one might play and then choosing them. And it's the choosing that shows the character of the Naiji. once this happens, that character must have voice. And for some reason, the voices of Naiji characters, they like to take up whole books. They really, in fact, like George Martin, not only whole books, he needs multiple characters to say it. Like these voices the Naiji will speak out can be the entire cast of characters of a town. It can be everyone. In fact, that's another thing you'll see also as part of the Naiji monologuing. They'll actually have what you would think of as actually being multiple characters, but it's really a monologue because they play all the parts. A lot of Naiji who are gifted that way in comedy or other kinds of gamesmanship with the face are actually quite good at actually holding a conversation that's like an hour long, but they break it up and make you think maybe. It's funny, I know because I do this myself, that if you actually break it into multiple characters, people somehow think that you just didn't talk to them for an hour. And so, classic, like in books, is a Naiji can write, and each of the characters that come up in the book, in the story, are taking a baton of what the author is saying about natural law. So each one of those characters is really part of one voice. But you can make it sound like all these different characters or voices. So, monologuing is very cool, but it, takes, there's a lot of 4951s being a Naiji. Here's another one. You need to make sure you make yourself comfortable. Otherwise, the monologuing won't come because it's designed to sort of have a more formal, ritualized, geeking out, sort of wolf-packy bubble. So that's where you really need to foster the flame. But like many things, Naiji, it takes a lot to get that dragon off the ground, but woo! Once dragons get in the air, then it's like, you know what? Please don't lord that over people because Naiji really like to just talk and not let anyone else talk. So even ones that don't even know they have it in them, like all of a sudden, like, I realized I like to monologue. Like you realize I have that addiction. You know? So Naiji can go on sort of like, you know, rampages on whatever the topic of choice is. See section on Kensei's.